Chosen one. This is an emergency, but not because your destiny is over. It is an emergency because your spirit has been warning you that the way you are living, watching, scrolling, delaying, and giving your attention away cannot carry the future you keep praying for. You are very late, but you are not lost. You are behind, but you are not abandoned. You have delayed, but you are not disqualified. The danger is not that you missed one opportunity. The danger is that you keep training yourself to ignore the voice that is trying to save your life from becoming smaller than it was meant to be. Before you give your mind to another distraction, before you let another voice enter your spirit, before you fill the silence with more noise, pause here. Something greater is interrupting the pattern, not to shame you, not to frighten you, to wake you up while there is still time to move differently. Because the first thing you feed becomes the thing that leads you, and your calling is asking for first place again. You may not have words for it yet, but something inside you already knows this is true. That is why normal things have started feeling strange. The same routine that used to comfort you now feels heavy. The same conversations that used to entertain you now feel empty. The same distractions that used to numb you now leave you more restless than before. You can scroll for an hour and still feel like something is missing. You can watch one thing after another and still feel like your spirit is standing at the door, waiting for you to come back home. You can laugh, answer messages, keep moving through the day, and still feel that quiet ache underneath everything saying, "This is not enough." That ache is not your enemy. That ache is evidence. It means the deeper part of you has not surrendered to a smaller life. It means your calling has not gone silent. It means there is still something in you that refuses to be buried under noise. And that is why this message matters. You are not here just to be comforted. You are here to be interrupted. There is a difference. Comfort tells you everything is fine when your spirit knows it is not. Interruption tells you the truth before the cost gets heavier. Comfort lets you keep delaying. Interruption puts a hand on your shoulder and says, "Chosen one, come back now." Not later. Not when life becomes easier. Not when your mood finally feels perfect. Not when every sign becomes obvious. Now, because some delays are caused by circumstances, but some delays are caused by the way you keep handing your first attention to things that cannot build your future. And you know exactly what I mean. There are mornings when your spirit is ready to speak, but your mind reaches for noise first. There are moments when your inner knowing rises up, but you bury it under another distraction. There are instructions you already felt months ago, but you kept postponing them because you wanted one more confirmation, one more sign, one more feeling, one more message, one more perfect day. But the truth is, chosen one, the confirmation was already inside you. The problem is not that you have no direction. The problem is that direction often arrives quietly, and distraction arrives loudly. And you have been letting the loudest thing lead. That is why your energy feels divided. That is why your mind feels crowded. That is why you can sense something coming, but you cannot seem to move toward it with full strength. You are carrying a future that requires focus, but you keep feeding a pattern that produces fog. You are carrying a gift that requires stillness, but you keep surrounding yourself with noise. You are carrying a calling that requires courage, but you keep negotiating with comfort. And every time you choose the lesser thing first, the greater thing does not disappear. It waits. It waits in the background of your life. It waits beneath the restless nights. It waits beneath the heaviness in your chest when you think about your future. It waits beneath the frustration you feel when you see other people moving forward, and something in you whispers, "I should be farther than this." But listen carefully. That whisper is not there to condemn you. It is there to remind you. You feel late because something in you still remembers the timeline your soul was built for. You feel behind because there is a version of you that knows you were not created to stay in cycles that keep draining your strength. You feel restless because your spirit is tired of being entertained while your purpose is being postponed. And this is where many people misunderstand the feeling. They think feeling late means they are rejected. They think feeling behind means the door has closed. They think feeling tired means they are weak. But sometimes the tiredness is not weakness. Sometimes it is the weight of living out of order. Sometimes the heaviness is not failure. Sometimes it is the pressure of carrying an assignment while still feeding the habits that delay it. Sometimes the anxiety is not just fear. Sometimes it is your inner alarm telling you that your current rhythm cannot hold your next season. There is a sacred discomfort that comes when your life becomes too small for the person you are becoming. It does not always arrive dramatically. Sometimes it arrives as boredom with what used to excite you. Sometimes it arrives as irritation with conversations you used to tolerate. Sometimes it arrives as deep exhaustion after spending time in places that no longer match your spirit. Sometimes it arrives as a strange grief because a part of you knows an old version of your life is ending, but another part of you is still trying to keep it alive. That is not random. That is not meaningless. That is not just a bad mood. That is the sound of transition. And if you stay with this until the end, you are going to understand 3 things that could change how you move from this moment forward. You are going to understand why you feel so late, even though you are not lost. You are going to see what has been stealing your first attention and quietly delaying your clarity. And you are going to receive a practical reset for your mind, your focus, and your inner signal, so you can stop consuming more truth than you are willing to live. Not a fantasy, not a promise that everything will change overnight, but a real turning point if you are willing to stop treating your calling like it can survive on leftovers. Because it cannot. Your calling cannot keep receiving the tired version of you after distraction has taken the best of you. Your purpose cannot keep waiting until the end of the day when your mind is already scattered. Your future cannot be built by the version of you that only gets serious after life becomes painful. There comes a moment when mercy stops whispering and becomes an alarm. This is that kind of moment, and I need you to understand why the alarm has become louder. It is not because a higher intelligence is angry with you. It is because you have been ignoring soft warnings for too long. The first warning was the loss of peace. You felt it when things looked normal on the outside, but something inside you could not settle. The second warning was the loss of satisfaction. You kept doing what used to distract you, but it no longer gave you the same escape. The third warning was the loss of tolerance. You could not keep pretending certain people, places, habits, and conversations were harmless when your whole body felt drained afterward. The fourth warning was the loss of clarity. Not because clarity abandoned you, but because noise kept covering it. And now, the warning has become simple. Watch this first. Not because this message is above every other message, but because your life is trying to teach you an order. First alignment, then information. First stillness, then movement. First truth, then action. First the voice within, then the voices around you. When the order is wrong, even good things can become distractions. A helpful message can become another excuse to postpone obedience. A spiritual teaching can become another thing you collect, but never embody. A sign can become something you chase instead of something you respond to. And that is one of the most dangerous places for a chosen one to live. Not in rebellion that looks obvious, but in delay that looks spiritual. You keep learning, but not changing. You keep receiving, but not moving. You keep agreeing, but not choosing. You keep saying, I know, while your daily life keeps proving that the old pattern still has the first seat. This is not said to shame you. This is said to bring you back to yourself. Because shame will make you hide, but truth will make you stand internally. And right now, you do not need to hide from the fact that you are late. You need to understand what late really means. Late does not mean finished. Late does not mean forgotten. Late does not mean rejected. Late means the time for casual living has expired. Late means the old rhythm cannot continue. Late means the version of you that kept saying tomorrow has reached the edge of what tomorrow can carry. And if you can receive that without collapsing into guilt, this can become one of the most important turning points of your life. Because the alarm is not here to destroy you. The alarm is here to rescue your attention. Your attention is not a small thing. Your attention is the doorway. What you keep looking at, you keep feeding. What you keep feeding, you keep strengthening. What you keep strengthening, you eventually become available to. So if you keep feeding fear, fear becomes louder. If you keep feeding confusion, confusion becomes familiar. If you keep feeding comparison, comparison becomes your mirror. If you keep feeding delay, delay becomes your identity. But if you begin feeding clarity first, something changes. If you begin feeding discipline first, something changes. If you begin feeding silence before noise, something changes. If you begin feeding the voice of your deeper knowing before the opinions of the world, something changes. Not all at once, not always loudly, but surely, the inner signal begins to return. And this is the part I need you to carry into the next moment. There is a reason your mind does not feel like it used to. There is a reason your focus feels weaker than your potential. There is a reason you can sense that you were made for more, yet still feel locked behind an invisible wall. There is a reason the version of you from earlier in life may have felt more curious, more alive, more open, more connected, more naturally gifted, while the version of you now sometimes feels foggy, heavy, and delayed. That reason is deeper than motivation. It is deeper than discipline. It is deeper than simply needing to try harder. And before this is over, we are going to talk about the hidden switch that affects your clarity, your focus, your inner signal, and your ability to move when your spirit already knows the way. But first, you must face the truth. Underneath everything, you have not only been distracted, you have been protected by the old version of you. That old version learned how to survive through delay. It learned how to avoid disappointment by not fully trying. It learned how to avoid rejection by staying unseen. It learned how to avoid responsibility by always waiting for one more sign. And now that old version is standing at the gate of your next season, trying to convince you that you are not ready. But the fact that you feel this alarm means readiness is closer than you think. The question is not whether you are chosen. The question is whether you will keep giving your first attention to the things that make you forget who you are. Because the emergency is not that time has passed. The emergency is that your spirit has been speaking, and you have been treating its voice like background noise. That ends now, not through panic, not through shame, not through another dramatic promise. It ends through order. It ends through one sacred decision. From this moment forward, your calling does not get leftovers. Your clarity does not get buried under noise. Your future does not have to beg for the attention that distraction has been receiving freely. Chosen one, you are late, but you are still being called. And if you are still being called, then something is still open. And what is still open is not just an opportunity. It is a doorway into the version of you that delay has been trying to keep hidden. Because this is where the truth gets deeper, chosen one. You thought you were late because time passed. You thought you were late because other people moved faster. You thought you were late because life did not give you the right chance, the right support, the right season, the right person, or the right confirmation. And yes, some things did slow you down. Some people wounded you. Some doors closed before you understood why. Some seasons stretched longer than you expected. Some losses took more out of you than anyone ever saw. But the deeper truth is this: you are not only late because of what happened to you. You are late because a part of you learned how to survive by postponing who you were called to become. That part of you is not evil. That part of you is not stupid. That part of you was trying to protect you from disappointment, rejection, responsibility, visibility, and the pain of trying again after you already gave your heart to things that failed. But protection can become a prison when it keeps guarding a version of you that God is trying to grow you out of. And that is what has been happening. There is an old version of you that knows how to survive in delay. It knows how to say, not yet. It knows how to say, I need more time. It knows how to say, I need one more sign. It knows how to say, I will start when I feel clear. It knows how to say, I will move when I feel ready. It knows how to say, I will obey when I am no longer afraid. But chosen one, there are some doors that do not open because fear disappears. They open because obedience becomes stronger than fear. And that is the point your life has been bringing you to. This is why the alarm feels so personal. It is not only calling you away from distraction, it is calling you away from the old agreement you made with delay. At some point, you started treating waiting like wisdom, even when it was fear wearing a calm voice. At some point, you started calling overthinking discernment. At some point, you started calling avoidance patience. At some point, you started calling endless preparation humility. At some point, you started calling comfort peace. But not everything that feels safe is sacred. Some things feel safe because they never challenge the smaller version of you. Some rooms feel peaceful because nothing in them requires you to rise. Some habits feel comforting because they keep you from facing the weight of your assignment. And if you are honest, this is why you have been stuck between hunger and hesitation. You want more, but you are afraid of what more will require. You want clarity, but you are afraid clarity will remove your excuses. You want breakthrough, but you are afraid breakthrough will make you responsible for a life you can no longer pretend not to understand. You want the door to open, but you are afraid of what you will have to leave behind when it does. And this is why your spirit has been unsettled. Because you cannot pray for the next season while emotionally protecting the old one. You cannot ask for transformation while negotiating with the patterns that keep you unchanged. You cannot keep saying you are ready while giving the old version of you permission to make the final decision. That old version will always ask for more time, not because time is needed, because time feels safer than surrender. This is the truth that many chosen ones do not want to face. The delay is not always outside. Sometimes the delay is the version of you that keeps standing at the threshold, looking into the future, but refusing to step, because stepping would make the old identity impossible to keep. And that is why this moment matters so much. You are not waiting for a sign the way you think you are. In many ways, your own obedience is the sign that has been delayed. Your decision is the movement you have been asking to see. Your surrender is the door you keep praying will open. Your focus is the key you keep searching for outside yourself. And the reason that hits so deeply is because part of you already knows. You already know the habit that has been stealing your morning. You already know the conversation that keeps pulling you back into an old frequency. You already know the fear that has been pretending to be wisdom. You already know the instruction you keep postponing. You already know the one thing you would change if you truly believed you were not allowed to keep wasting your own life. And still, you have been asking for more confirmation. But chosen one, confirmation becomes a burden when you keep collecting it without obeying it. A message can confirm you. A sign can awaken you. A dream can warn you. A word can strengthen you. But none of these can replace the decision you are refusing to make. And this is where spiritual hunger can become a hidden trap. Because you can keep watching. You can keep listening. You can keep receiving. You can keep agreeing. You can keep feeling moved. You can keep saying, this is exactly for me. But if nothing changes when the message ends, then the message became another emotional experience, not a doorway. That is why the most dangerous delay is the kind that looks spiritual. It does not look like rebellion. It does not look like laziness. It does not look like running away. It looks like learning more. It looks like searching more. It looks like saving more teachings. It looks like waiting for the perfect moment. It looks like asking for one more sign when the last sign is still sitting inside you, unanswered. This is not to condemn you. This is to call you back into integrity, because a chosen one cannot keep eating truth and living against it without feeling torn in two. That tearing you feel inside is not random. It is the tension between the person you have been and the person you are being called to become. The person you have been wants to stay understandable to the people who knew your pain. The person you are becoming may not be easy for everyone to recognize. The person you have been wants to be liked, approved, explained, and emotionally safe. The person you are becoming may have to be misunderstood for a season. The person you have been wants to keep every door open, even the doors that lead back to bondage. The person you are becoming must learn how to walk through the right door and let the wrong ones close behind you. This is the war beneath the delay. Not a war against people, not a war against the world, a war of agreement. Which version of you gets to decide what happens next? The old you will choose familiar pain over unfamiliar freedom. The old you will choose being needed over being called. The old you will choose delay over exposure. The old you will choose another cycle over the risk of finally becoming visible. And that word matters, visible, because part of you is not just afraid to fail. Part of you is afraid to be seen succeeding. You know how to survive being underestimated. You know how to survive being overlooked. You know how to survive being hidden. You know how to survive being the one who carries quietly, gives quietly, hurts quietly, and keeps going quietly. But what happens when life begins asking you to stand where others can see you? What happens when your gift can no longer stay private? What happens when your healing begins to demand a voice? What happens when your wisdom is no longer just for you? What happens when your calling requires you to become someone people may judge, question, imitate, misunderstand, or depend on? That is where success begins to feel dangerous. Not because success is wrong, but because visibility carries weight. And chosen one, your fear of that weight is not proof that you are weak. It may be proof that you understand the assignment better than you think. People who are careless with purpose rush into visibility without reverence. But those who know the weight of their calling often tremble before they rise. Moses trembled before his assignment. He did not feel ready. He questioned his voice. He looked at his weakness and thought it disqualified him. But the calling did not disappear because he felt inadequate. The calling met him in the place where he was hiding. David was anointed long before he was seated. He had oil on his head, but still had sheep in front of him. He carried a future that no one around him fully understood. He had to learn how to be faithful in hidden places before he could carry authority in public places. Esther had beauty, position, and access. But there came a moment when comfort was no longer enough. She could not stay silent and call it wisdom. She could not protect herself and still fulfill the reason she had been positioned. There came a moment when the question was not, "Am I safe?" The question was, "Why was I placed here?" And that is the kind of question your spirit has been asking you. Not just, "How do I feel?" Not just, "What do I want?" Not just, "What is easy?" Not just, "Who understands me?" But why am I here? Why did I survive what should have broken me? Why do I keep sensing more when I try to settle for less? Why do certain patterns bother me so deeply? Why do I feel responsible for a future I cannot fully explain? Why does normal distraction no longer satisfy me? Why do I feel like something is calling my name from a place I have not reached yet? These questions are not punishment. They are invitations. They are the sound of your deeper identity pushing against the walls of the old one. And that is why your delay has become painful. There was a time when delay felt comfortable. Now it feels like pressure. There was a time when distraction felt harmless. Now it feels expensive. There was a time when small living felt safe. Now it feels suffocating. There was a time when hiding felt wise. Now it feels like betrayal. This is what happens when a season expires. The thing that once protected you begins to confine you. The thing that once comforted you begins to drain you. The thing that once felt normal begins to feel like a warning. And if you ignore that warning long enough, you do not lose your calling in one dramatic moment. You lose sensitivity. Little by little, you stop noticing what drains you. You stop responding when your spirit nudges you. You stop feeling the difference between peace and numbness. You stop recognizing when a door is closing because you have trained yourself to keep staring at what is familiar. That is why this is an emergency. Not because everything is ending, because your sensitivity is sacred and you cannot keep dulling it without consequence. A chosen one who loses sensitivity does not become ordinary. They become heavy, heavy with unused gifts, heavy with unspoken truth, heavy with delayed obedience, heavy with dreams they keep explaining away, heavy with the pain of knowing they are living beneath what they were formed to carry. And this is the part no one can fix for you from the outside. Someone can encourage you, someone can teach you, someone can warn you, someone can speak life into you, but no one can obey for you. No one can reorder your attention for you. No one can choose your calling for you. No one can walk away from the draining pattern while you keep making excuses for it. No one can make your inner yes louder than your old fear. That yes has to rise from within you. Not loud at first, not dramatic, but real. A yes that says, I cannot keep living divided. A yes that says, I cannot keep calling delay peace. A yes that says, I cannot keep feeding what makes me forget myself. A yes that says, I am willing to be uncomfortable if that discomfort leads me back into truth. And I hear this very clearly for someone listening right now. You are not late because I abandoned you. You are late because you kept returning to what was draining you. But I did not let the alarm sound because I was finished with you. I let it sound because I am calling you out before delay becomes your home. Receive that without fear. Let it land without shame. Because the voice that corrects you with mercy is not trying to crush you. It is trying to separate you from the pattern that has been quietly crushing you. And now you have to understand the biggest revelation of all. You are not waiting for a sign. You are the sign being delayed. Your healed mind is a sign. Your focused attention is a sign. Your disciplined mourning is a sign. Your quiet obedience is a sign. Your refusal to return to old noise is a sign. Your decision to protect your inner signal is a sign. Your life in order becomes the evidence you kept searching for. That is why the enemy of your next season is not always a person. Sometimes it is the version of you that keeps needing to feel ready before being faithful. Sometimes it is the version of you that would rather understand everything than obey one thing. Sometimes it is the version of you that wants transformation without interruption. Sometimes it is the version of you that wants calling without cost. But calling always has cost. Not because the path is cruel, because anything sacred requires space. If you want clarity, confusion cannot keep having unlimited access. If you want peace, chaos cannot keep being entertained. If you want alignment, every voice cannot keep having equal weight. If you want purpose, your attention cannot keep being available to everything. A holy life is not built by accident. An aligned life is not built by mood. A focused life is not built by consuming endless truth and refusing one small act of obedience. It is built when you finally decide that the best of you can no longer be given to what drains you. It is built when you stop letting the old self call every sacrifice too much. It is built when you stop asking for the door to open while refusing to release the handle of the door behind you. And there it is. That is the image your spirit needs to hold. You are standing between two doors. Behind you is the door of familiar delay. You know its sounds. You know its patterns. You know its excuses. You know how to survive there. Ahead of you is the door of ordered obedience. It does not promise that you will feel ready. It does not promise that everyone will understand. It does not promise that fear will vanish before you move. But it does carry the future your spirit has been aching for. And right now, without moving your body, without proving anything to anyone, let your inner self turn toward the right door. Do not force a feeling. Do not chase a vision. Just let your spirit make one quiet decision. The old door is familiar, but it is not my future. Let that sentence settle inside you. The old door is familiar, but it is not my future. Because the moment you stop romanticizing the old door, you begin recovering the strength to choose the new one. And this is where everything begins to shift. Not because you suddenly become perfect, not because you never feel fear again, not because delay loses its voice completely, but because another voice becomes stronger, the voice of your calling, the voice of your deeper knowing, the voice that has been whispering beneath all the noise, the voice that says, you were not formed for endless postponement, the voice that says, you have stayed at the threshold long enough, the voice that says, what you call late, I can still turn into appointed, the voice that says, if you return to order, I can restore movement. But you must understand what order means. Order is not control. Order is not panic. Order is not forcing your life to become perfect overnight. Order is giving first place back to what is sacred. Order is deciding what no longer gets to enter your spirit first. Order is refusing to let the day be shaped by whatever grabs you fastest. Order is remembering that your attention is not public property. Order is treating your mind like a gate, and a gate must be guarded, because what enters you repeatedly eventually speaks inside you. This is why you have felt foggy, not because you lack intelligence, not because your gift disappeared, not because your future vanished, but because your inner signal has been covered by too many competing voices. And in the next moment, this is where the reset begins. Because you do not just need another warning. You need a new order. You need a way to protect the first place in your mind. You need a way to audit what has been delaying you. You need a way to recover the signal underneath the noise. And you need to understand why your focus, your clarity, your intuition, and your inner sharpness may not be gone at all. They may be buried. They may be muffled. They may be waiting beneath years of survival, distraction, and mental static. Chosen one, this is the moment where the message turns from warning into instruction. Because the alarm has done its job if it brings you back to the gate. But now you must choose what gets to enter first. And what gets to enter first will decide what gets to lead next. That is why the reset begins here, chosen one. Not with panic, not with guilt, not with a dramatic promise that tomorrow morning every problem disappears. It begins with order, because the version of you that is coming cannot be built on the same inner order that kept delaying you. You do not need to become perfect in one day. You do not need to fix your entire life in one night. You do not need to understand the whole path before you take the first true step. But you do need to stop giving first place to what makes you forget your assignment. There is a rule your next season needs. The first thing gets the throne. The first voice you feed gets power. The first thought you entertain gets momentum. The first thing you reach for often becomes the thing that quietly shapes your whole day. So, if the first thing you give yourself is noise, your spirit spends the day trying to climb out of noise. If the first thing you give yourself is comparison, your confidence spends the day trying to recover from comparison. If the first thing you give yourself is fear, your decisions spend the day trying to escape fear. If the first thing you give yourself is someone else's life, someone else's opinion, someone else's drama, someone else's urgency, then your own calling enters the day already pushed to the side. And this is why you feel late. Not because you have no gift, not because you have no future, not because grace has left you, but because your first attention has been serving the wrong altar. So for the next 7 days, let this be the quiet command inside you. Nothing gets first place unless it strengthens the person I am becoming. Let that sentence become a gate. Before you let anything enter your mind, ask yourself inside, does this strengthen the person I am becoming? Not, does this entertain me? Not, does this numb me? Not, does this keep me busy? Not, does this give me the illusion that I am doing something spiritual? Does this strengthen the person I am becoming? If the answer is no, it may not be evil, but it cannot be first. It may not be harmful in every moment, but it cannot lead. It may not be something you must remove forever, but it cannot sit on the throne of your attention. Because first place is sacred now. Your morning is sacred now. Your inner gate is sacred now. Your focus is sacred now. And the part of you that keeps saying, "This is not a big deal," needs to understand that your future is built out of repeated small permissions. Every time you permit noise first, you train your spirit to wait. Every time you permit fear first, you train your courage to sit down. Every time you permit distraction first, you train your calling to accept leftovers. But every time you choose alignment first, you send a message through your whole inner world. You say, "I remember who I am." You say, "I know what this season requires." You say, "My future will not be led by whatever screams the loudest." You say, "I am no longer available to be pulled everywhere except the place I am assigned to grow." And this does not require you to move your body. It does not require you to prove anything to anyone. Even if you are lying down, even if you are tired, even if you are driving, even if you cannot stop your whole day right now, you can still make an inner decision. Picture the entrance of your mind like a sacred gate, not a wall, a gate. A wall rejects everything. A gate discerns what is allowed to enter. Now imagine the things that usually rush into your day standing outside that gate. The noise, the worry, the old habit, the urge to check, the comparison, the memory of what went wrong, the fear of what might happen, the desire to escape your own life for another hour. Do not fight them. Do not panic. Just see them standing outside the gate. And then, inside yourself, place one sentence over that gate. My calling enters first. Let that sentence become the command. My calling enters first. Not my fear, not my distraction, not my old identity, not the voices that drain me. My calling enters first. That one sentence may seem small, but small commands repeated with reverence can reorder an entire life. Because what you are really doing is not just changing a habit. You are changing authority. You are deciding what gets to speak first inside you. You are deciding what gets to define the day before the day begins. You are deciding whether the old version of you keeps owning the entrance, or whether the called version of you finally takes its place at the gate. And once you understand that, the next step becomes clear. You must find the place where delay has been hiding. Not the delay you complain about, the delay you protect. Because everyone notices the delay that hurts them, but very few people notice the delay they keep defending. There is a delay you blame on timing. There is a delay you blame on people. There is a delay you blame on not having enough money, enough support, enough clarity, enough confidence, enough peace. And sometimes those things are real. But beneath all of that, there is often one quiet place where you already know what needs to change. There is one habit you keep minimizing. There is one fear you keep calling wisdom. There is one relationship you keep pretending does not drain you. There is one instruction you keep pushing into tomorrow. There is one small act of obedience you keep avoiding because it would make the old version of you uncomfortable. And that is where the delay must be found. Not so you can hate yourself, not so you can shame yourself, not so you can accuse yourself of ruining everything, but so you can stop bleeding time from a wound you refuse to look at. Inside yourself, ask this slowly. What have I been calling preparation that is actually avoidance? Let the question move through you. Do not rush to answer it with your mind. Let your deeper knowing answer. What have I been calling preparation that is actually avoidance? Maybe it is the way you keep learning but never applying. Maybe it is the way you keep planning but never beginning. Maybe it is the way you keep waiting to feel confident before you act. Maybe it is the way you keep telling yourself you are healing, but really you are hiding from responsibility. Maybe it is the way you keep saying you need a sign, when what you really need is courage. Maybe it is the way you keep saying you are protecting your peace, when really you are protecting your comfort. This question is not here to attack you. It is here to separate truth from disguise. Because delay rarely introduces itself as delay. Delay often introduces itself as logic. Delay says, be realistic. Delay says, wait until you are ready. Delay says, what if you fail? Delay says, what if they laugh? Delay says, what if you change and people leave? Delay says, what if success makes your life heavier? Delay says, what if you cannot carry what you asked for? And some of those questions sound wise, but wisdom does not keep you trapped forever. Wisdom prepares you to move rightly. Fear prepares you to never move at all. That is the difference. So here is the inner audit. Not with paper, not with pressure, not with physical movement, just inside your own awareness. Let 3 doors appear in your mind. The first door is called what drains me. The second door is called what delays me. The third door is called what calls me. Behind the first door, let your spirit show you what keeps taking strength from you. It may be a habit. It may be a person. It may be a pattern of thought. It may be the way you consume too much and sit with yourself too little. Behind the second door, let your spirit show you what keeps postponing your obedience. It may be perfectionism. It may be fear of being seen. It may be the need to explain yourself to people who are not assigned to understand you. It may be the comfort of staying almost ready. Behind the third door, let your spirit show you the thing that keeps calling you back. It may be a gift. It may be a discipline. It may be a project. It may be a healing decision. It may be a boundary. It may be a quiet instruction you have been carrying for months. Do not force the answers. Let them rise, because your spirit often speaks in recognition, not noise. When the right answer appears, you may not hear thunder. You may simply feel, yes, that is it. That is the thing. That is the place. That is the pattern. That is the door I have kept avoiding. And once you see it, do not turn it into another emotional moment you do nothing with. Choose one inner sentence. Just one. I will no longer feed what delays me. Let that sentence cut through the fog. I will no longer feed what delays me. Not, I will fix everything today. Not, I will become perfect immediately. Not, I will never struggle again. Just this. I will no longer feed what delays me. Because the moment you stop feeding delay, delay begins losing its authority. The moment you stop feeding confusion, clarity has space to return. The moment you stop feeding the old identity, the cold identity begins to breathe. And this brings us back to something I told you earlier. There is a reason your mind does not feel like it used to. There is a reason your focus sometimes feels weaker than your potential. There is a reason you can sense that you are built for more, yet still feel like you are moving through fog. There is a reason your intuition may feel buried under mental noise. There is a reason the version of you from earlier in life may have felt more alive, more curious, more fast, more sensitive, more open to wonder, while now you sometimes feel like you are trying to access a gift through static. For many chosen ones, the problem is not that the gift disappeared. The problem is that the signal got buried. Buried under survival, buried under stress, buried under overstimulation, buried under years of living in a world that trains your mind to react instead of receive. And when your inner signal gets buried, you start mistaking fog for failure. You start thinking you are lazy when you are overloaded. You start thinking you are not spiritual when your nervous system is exhausted. You start thinking your intuition left when really it has been muffled by too many competing frequencies. This is why your reset cannot only be emotional, it must also become practical, because a sacred calling still has to move through a human brain. Your spirit may know the way, but your mind needs enough clarity to follow. Your purpose may be alive, but your attention needs enough order to carry it. Your inner voice may still be speaking, but your system needs enough quiet to hear it. This is where I want to speak very carefully. There is a connection between spiritual clarity and the state of the mind. Many people talk about purpose, calling, signs, destiny, and divine timing, but they ignore the vessel that has to process all of it. If your mind is constantly overloaded, even a true instruction can feel distant. If your attention is constantly fragmented, Even a real calling can feel unreachable. If your brain is trapped in survival mode, you can hear truth and still feel unable to move. That does not mean you are broken. It means your inner signal needs support. This is why the idea of a 7-minute reset matters so much. Not as a replacement for discipline, not as a replacement for prayer, reflection, healing, wise action, or personal responsibility, but as a support for the part of you that has been trying to return to clarity while living inside a storm of mental static. There is a kind of audio technology called brain entrainment. The simple idea is that sound can help guide the brain towards certain rhythms. And one of the brainwave states often connected with heightened focus, insight, learning, and those rare moments where everything seems to click is called gamma. Some people describe gamma as the state where the mind feels bright again, where connections happen faster, where intuition feels closer, where creativity becomes more available, where the fog begins to lift enough for the next step to appear. And what makes this so interesting for a chosen one is this: many chosen people can remember a time when their mind felt different. Maybe when you were younger, you learned quickly, you sensed things deeply, you noticed patterns other people missed, you had moments of strange knowing, you felt connected to life in a way that now feels harder to access. Then the world got louder, pressure increased, stress increased, distraction increased, disappointment increased, and little by little, the signal that once felt natural began to feel buried. This is the bridge. Not magic, not hype, not a promise that one sound fixes your whole life, but a bridge between the spiritual truth we have been talking about and the practical reality of the mind that has to carry it. There is a tool called the Genius Song. It is a 7-minute digital audio track created around brain entrainment and gamma activation. The way it is meant to be used is simple. You listen through headphones for 7 minutes a day. No complicated ritual, no pressure to perform, no need to force a mystical experience. Just a short window where the mind is given a signal designed to help it move toward a clearer state. And I want to be honest with you. This is not here to replace your obedience. It will not choose your calling for you. It will not set your boundaries for you. It will not live your life while you stay passive. But for the chosen one who feels like their inner signal has been muffled, it may become a tool that supports the reset you already know you need. Think of it like this. If your mind is a radio, and for years the dial has been stuck between stations, the message may still be broadcasting, but all you hear is static. The purpose is not to create a new calling. The purpose is to help you tune back toward the signal that was already there. That is why this fits this message. Because the emergency is not just that you are late. The emergency is that you cannot keep trying to obey a sacred calling with a mind that is constantly being pulled into static. There is a teacher I heard about, a woman in her 40s, who spent years helping other people grow, while feeling like her own mind was running at a fraction of what it once was. She was not lazy. She was not careless. She was not without purpose. She simply felt like the sharp part of her had gone quiet. And after using this 7-minute audio practice consistently, she described something that many people who feel buried will understand. She said ideas began arriving again. Decisions she had delayed for months became clearer. The fog did not define her the same way. Now, I am not sharing that to tell you that your experience will be exactly the same. Every person is different. Every life is different. Every season is different. But I am sharing it because sometimes one simple support can help a person stop identifying with the fog. And that matters. Because when clarity returns, even a little, obedience becomes less abstract. Focus becomes less impossible. The next step becomes less buried. Now, I know what some of you may be thinking. You may be thinking, I have tried things before. I have tried to reset my mind. I have tried to become more focused. I have tried spiritual practices, motivational practices, routines, sounds, teachings, and promises that did not really change anything. I understand that hesitation, and you should not throw your trust at everything that sounds good. Discernment is part of your calling, but this is not being presented to you as a fantasy shortcut. It is a practical support, a 7-minute audio tool built around the idea that the mind can be guided into a more useful state through sound. That is why it is different from just telling yourself to focus harder. Some people try to force clarity while their mind is still flooded. Some people try to demand discipline from a system that has been running on static for years. This gives the reset a practical place to begin. The original price of the Genius song is $49. But for viewers of this message, it has been brought down to $39. That is less than many people spend on one meal, one unused subscription, or one impulse purchase that gives them a few minutes of escape and nothing deeper. For $39, you receive the 7-minute audio track, and you also receive the bonus materials connected to it, including an audio for children called Genius Child, a classic book connected to deeper financial thinking, a guided visualization, and an infographic with key habits for building a better future. And there is a money-back guarantee. So if you explore it and you truly feel it is not for you, you are not trapped. That matters because a tool for clarity should not be introduced with pressure. It should be introduced with peace. I also need to say this clearly. There are many fake versions and imitations online. Do not search randomly for it and assume every result is the real one. Many copies may just be ordinary audio without the entrainment technology that makes the original different. The safest way to explore the correct version with the bonuses and the guarantee is through the link placed in the description and the pinned comment of this video, and only explore it if it resonates. Not because you are being pushed, not because you are desperate, not because you believe a product can replace your path, but because your spirit recognizes that your inner signal may need support as you return to order. That is all this is. A tool, a support, a 7-minute reset for the mind that has been trying to hear through static. But the greater decision still belongs to you, because even the clearest mind must choose what it serves. Even the sharpest focus must be pointed somewhere. Even the strongest inner signal must be protected by a life that honors it. So do not hear this message and only think about a tool. Hear the deeper call. The tool can support the reset, but you must become the guardian of the gate. You must decide what enters first. You must decide what no longer receives your best energy. You must decide what has been draining you long enough. You must decide that the old door may be familiar, but it is not your future. And now, before this closes, let your spirit perform one final inner action. Imagine again that sacred gate at the entrance of your mind. This time, the gate is not empty. On one side stands the old order. Noise first, fear first, delay first, comfort first, comparison first, everyone else's urgency first. On the other side stands the new order. Calling first, clarity first, truth first, discipline first, peace first, the voice within first. Do not move your body. Do not force an emotion. Just let your inner self walk to the gate and remove the old sign. The sign that said, anything can enter. The sign that said, distraction can lead. The sign that said, my calling can wait. Take that sign down inside your imagination and replace it with one sentence. My calling enters first. Let that sentence stand there. My calling enters first. Now see the noise approach the gate and watch it lose authority. See fear approach the gate and watch it lose the first seat. See delay approach the gate and watch it realize it no longer owns the entrance. See the old version of you approach the gate with its excuses, its hesitation, its need for one more sign, and its fear of being seen. Do not hate that old version. Thank it for helping you survive. Then tell it the truth. You protected me for a season, but you cannot lead me into this one. Let that sentence settle. You protected me for a season, but you cannot lead me into this one. Because this is where chosen ones often get free. not by attacking who they were, but by refusing to let survival lead destiny. The old version of you may have helped you endure rejection. It may have helped you survive disappointment. It may have helped you make it through seasons where no one understood the weight you were carrying. But survival is not the same as calling. And now the cold version of you must rise. Not loud, not dramatic, not desperate, steady. The seer in you must rise, because you were given sensitivity for a reason. The voice in you must rise, because there are truths you can no longer bury. The cycle breaker in you must rise, because some patterns cannot continue through you. The spiritual warrior in you must rise, because your peace must be guarded. The pioneer in you must rise, because some paths will not appear until you walk first. This is why you are still being called, because there is something in you that has not been used yet. There is wisdom in you that has not been spoken yet. There is discipline in you that has not been fully awakened yet. There is courage in you that has not been fully tested yet. There is a future in you that has not been given first place yet. But that changes now. Not because a video made you emotional, not because urgency scared you for a moment, not because you promised something you will forget tomorrow. It changes because you understand the order. The emergency was mercy. The lateness was not rejection. The alarm was not punishment. The discomfort was not random. The fog was not your identity. The delay was not your destiny. You are late, but you are not lost. You are behind, but you are not abandoned. You have delayed, but you are not disqualified. But you cannot keep using grace as an excuse to remain divided. Grace is not permission to stay asleep. Grace is the hand that wakes you while there is still time. And if there is still a pull in your spirit, there is still a path in front of you. If there is still conviction, there is still movement available. If there is still discomfort with the old life, there is still airwortens that the new one is calling. So let this be the beginning of a different order. For the next 7 days, protect the first entrance. Before noise, choose alignment. Before scrolling, choose stillness. Before comparison, choose remembrance. Before fear, choose truth. Before delay, choose one small act of obedience. And if you feel led, place one sentence in the comments as a public mark of an inner decision. My calling enters first, not to impress anyone, not to perform spirituality, but to give your future a witness, to tell the old pattern, you no longer own the gate, to tell your inner world, the order has changed, to tell your spirit, I heard the alarm, and I am coming back, because you did hear it. That is why you stayed. That is why these words reached the part of you that already knew. That is why the title felt personal. That is why the warning did not feel like random fear. It felt like a mirror. It felt like a hand on your shoulder. It felt like the part of you from the future turning around and saying, please, do not lose another season to what was never assigned to carry you. And I hear the Father saying, I did not call you to be entertained into numbness. I called you to wake up. I called you to return. I called you to remember. I called you to guard what I placed inside you. I called you to stop giving sacred strength to empty things. I called you to step away from the old door. I called you to let order return. And now choose the path that has been waiting for your yes. Chosen one. This is the moment. Not the moment where everything is finished. The moment where the order changes. The moment where your attention comes home. The moment where your calling stops begging for leftovers. The moment where you stop calling delay peace. The moment where you stop calling distraction rest. The moment where you stop calling fear wisdom. The moment where you stop waiting for another sign when your own obedience has been the sign delayed. You are still here. You are still being called. Something is still open. Now guard the gate. Let your calling enter first. And do not go back to sleep.